Welcome to Group Practice Revolution, where innovation meets magic. I'm your host, Sarah Buino, and on this show, we're gathering the unicorns of the group practice world, those magical practitioners, owners, and visionaries transforming how group practice works. Together, we're bridging the gap between practice owners and employees to create a better future for mental health care. Join us as we bring together diverse voices from across the field, each sharing their piece of the revolutionary puzzle. Because when innovation meets magic, anything is possible. Hello there! Welcome to Group Practice Revolution. So excited to have you here. And if you're listening, I hope that you're also really excited about figuring out ways that we can usher group practice into the future and do it in a way that actually supports both workers, owners, everybody, and clients. Obviously, at the end of the day, we want clients to be the one who benefit the most. So this episode, we are featuring Jennifer Fromel. Before I get to all of her stuff, I just want to remind you that the episode is just going to be up on the podcast feed for a couple of weeks before it disappears. It will be available forever, ever, and amen on the Group Practice Revolution platform. And for a short period of time until we beta launch, which is or we launch the full thing, that's going to be in June. Before then, you can get all of Group Practice Revolution's goodies for 3 months for only $10. So if you go to grouppracticerevolution.com, you're going to get a little pop-up with a unicorn party that gives you the code to join for only $10. And it is in beta right now. So I just want to tell you, it is not perfect. It will probably never be perfect, but it is far from perfect right now. What we're doing is trying to get people engaged so that we build momentum. We also test all of the components of the platform and can, tweak all of the things before we do the full launch in June. So join us over there. If you want to join, listen to Jen forever and ever. You may want to listen to her over and over. I don't know. And you can get CEs over there. So do that. So Jen and I discuss her experience as a practice owner for 12 years. And one of the things I was really curious about is how the hell she has stayed sane after doing this for 12 years. And also, of course, the ways that she tries to support her staff, especially through these really challenging times. And one of the interesting ideas that come up during this conversation is that she regularly conducts quote unquote, why do you stay interviews with employees so that she can learn what keeps her staff staying there rather than going out and opening their own practice or going somewhere else. So I thought that was such a brilliant idea. I've created my own version of this why do you stay interview, and it's available right now for Group Practice Revolution members. And I think that it's not only, obviously, it's helpful to employers who want to figure out what keep employees coming back, but I also think that these questions are really important for employees to ask themselves, even if the owner of the practice is not asking them, because it helps to determine why it is that you're staying in group practice or why it is that you might want to leave, or it might help you figure out what are the things that you might like to talk to your practice owner about to see if they can be enhanced in order for you to feel comfortable staying. So that offer is there for you, grouppracticerevolution.com. Join us for only $10 and you can get access to this. So without further ado, Jennifer Fromel is a bilingual mental health clinician with over 30 years of experience. She's actively involved in professional networks, serving as a leader in counseling organizations while advocating for accessible mental health care for diverse populations. Jennifer has been featured as a psychological expert on media platforms and has received awards for her clinical excellence and human rights advocacy. So please enjoy this interview with Jennifer Fromel. Hello, Jen. Welcome to Group Practice Revolution. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Just surviving the hellscape that is our new reality.
Yeah, it's definitely some different times these days, right?
Well, I guess that's probably a good thing to start off with. How are you taking care of yourself and your staff right now?
Well, ever since COVID and the George Floyd stuff was happening, I had started a weekly support group for our team. I called it Support Humanity and Culture. And I haven't stopped doing it. So we continue to do that monthly ever since the the vote came in. We have met as a team to talk openly and honestly about how people are feeling. Our team meets twice a month as a large group, and I have put it as an agenda topic to talk about and share resources with my team. And then outside of that, like our clinical supervisor team, we just met again on Friday and are talking there as well about, how to support each other and how to support our team and our clients. So it's, I guess, an omnipresent conversation
Right.
that we're doing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's interesting. I mean, I'm guessing that most practices in Chicago have mostly liberal people on their staff, but I've actually I supported a friend who has a staff member who had voted for Trump and some fallout that happened in the team with that. So I'm sending my heart out to people who have mixed teams
Yeah.
because it's more challenging if y'all aren't exactly on the same page.
Yeah, and I think that, we definitely, I would say definitely are more slanted towards the liberal side of things just by virtue of the fact that we're multicultural. We have some of our clinicians who are here on work visas, some clinicians who, have recently gotten citizenship. So I think, again, we serve a wide variety of people. And so I also am a really big supporter of our staff. And so back in, I don't know, I think it was 2022, we had a client who seemingly stopped bringing their child to see one of our Latino clinicians and made a comment to, like in passing, to a white woman who she had no idea that they were a partnered couple, about how they were going to stop seeing the Latino male clinician because they just didn't think that it was a good thing for them.
Mm.
And I went directly to the clients and said, "Hi, I'd like to interview you and find out why you stopped coming. Because by reviewing your chart of your child, I can see very clearly that there's a lot of need." And they basically said, "I don't want to talk about it." And I said, "But I think we might need to, because I just have some concerns based on some of the other things that I've been hearing from people in that location." And they said, "We don't want to talk about it," and hung up, and that was it.
Wait, so I think I missed the problem.
The problem was they stopped bringing their child to the services with the Latino male clinician,
Oh, it was a white parent?
and it was a white
Oh, so
parent.
it's racism. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
yeah,
Missed the missed the
yeah,
big point. Yeah.
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 Wow.
And I just wanted
That's
to call it out because I don't want to diss any of my staff. And, to know that, my male clinician had heard this
right.
and that they stopped bringing their kid. And when you do review the patient chart, like, it's clear that the kid was in need of support. And nowhere in anything did it look like the kid wasn't getting served by this Latino male clinician.
Right.
So I just was like, nope, I'm just going to call it out. I'm just going to go
Yeah.
straight in and have a conversation. And they basically refused to.
Yeah. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Well, while we're there, do you want to introduce your practice?
Yeah. I am the owner of Innovative Counseling Partners, and we have 7 locations over Chicago. We have a pretty intense intern program as well, and have been providing pro bono services to underserved communities as well, with the benefit of having our interns. And yeah, we're going into year 12 this March.
How are you still alive? Honestly.
I have a very good support team.
Obviously, yeah.
like support team that like supports my health.
Right.
And I've been told multiple times that I am an alien. And so I
Oh,
think
good.
that's really, or a witch. I don't know, whichever one,
Or both.
or both, maybe. I'm very much attuned and in tune with myself. And
Mm-hmm.
so I go to acupuncture every 5 weeks. I work out 7 days a week. I, yeah,
Wow.
I make sure that I eat clean, healthy dinners, 5 nights of the week that I prepare myself with my family. And I've been doing that since my twins were two. So going on 15 years now of that kind of behavior. So yeah, I think that that's how I stay alive. And then in the last, I would say probably 3 years, I've really bumped up my support team for the practice. And not because we've got a shit ton of support people, but more so that like I have really streamlined and made sure that the things that I know I don't need to keep doing, I've got people who can do it, and so I think that that's been the other way, and that's
Yeah.
basically allowed me to take more time off for myself, to really unplug. And so I think that those are the ways that I'm still alive.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I like to get honest about how hard it is, and then the things that you have to do to be able to take care of yourself. Because I think some of the people I'm consulting with who are maybe newer practices, they would look at somebody like you from the outside and be like, "Oh my, she's so much better than me. She's got all these locations, all this and that." But I'm guessing it wasn't like a beautiful, straight, easy line to get here.
Oh gosh, no, not at all. No, no. I mean, and like the flub ups that have occurred along the way of like a colleague of mine was saying like, "Oh, I really respect you. How about you take over my office and I won't pay for rent while I'm exiting, but you get to take everything and and that'll be how it goes." And 3 years later, I find out by our reports finally working that yeah, we've basically been taking money from all these other locations, and it's been basically being funneled to that location because the location is just not doing what it should be. And
Mm.
had an intern tell me that even though we do an integrative mental health assessment, that the clinician that I had there looked at her and said, "Well, I don't do it. What are you going to do? Tell on me?" And so she
What?
did. So she did.
Good.
And
Wow.
so I'm like, yeah. So yeah, our fully licensed people at that location were totally just kind of doing their own thing and
Mm.
behind my back, and I was fretting the bill for it. And I think we lost about $30,000 in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
big
had a
learning experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all have one of those stories. Like I had a bad business partner, lost $50,000 one year, and so I want younger slash newer practice owners to hear that it's not all rainbows and unicorns.
No,
Yeah.
no, no, it's not.
Well, let's talk about the struggles right now that we're seeing. I named some things, as part of the invitation, but I'm curious from your vantage point. And I did it about 10 years. You've been doing it 12 years, so you've been a little bit longer than me. Like, what are you seeing right now that is coming up, not just for you, but maybe other folks as well?
I think it's the whole like the streamlining of supporting your team. Again, when I made the decision to leave a full-time gig and take my private practice time from part-time to full-time, I had this, I wanted a win-win-win. I wanted the clinicians to feel like this is a safe and comfortable place to work. I wanted the clients to feel that mental health services are spa-like in a way. And then I wanted it from a business perspective to be able to just be like flowy and like okay and easy. And so every time that I saw a new potential option or opportunity, I would look at it from the win-win-win perspective. And I think what I've learned is over time, I think a part of my own family history of codependency. Um,
You're
it's
speaking my
just
language.
right, which is really like at the forefront of things. Like I wanted this for me, so then I want this for people like me.
Yeah.
But what I've come to over the last 3 years is the recognition that like I can never do enough for people, and specifically clinicians in our industry. And no matter how much I give, they always want more, without recognizing that like there isn't a lot more that I can do. Like
Yeah.
I argue with insurance companies, with the Illinois Counseling Association, with my role as a liaison to the insurance task force. I really get off on that. I enjoy doing that. But I like doing it as well for my practice. But the reality is like when insurance companies say we don't negotiate with terrorists, so take it or leave
Right.
it,
Right. Right. Yeah.
and then I go back to the team and go, well, guys, unless our rate
Yeah.
of reimbursement goes up, mama can't pay you more money.
Right.
And so that might mean you want to leave, and I wish you luck and
Right. Right.
good luck. Um, so I think for me, like that has probably been one of the hardest things is recognizing that I want this for people, because I would have wanted this for myself growing up a
Hmm.
clinician, but coming to a terms of like it doesn't work for everybody, and that's okay.
Right.
It's okay.
Right. Do you think that has changed? Like, do you think that people are wanting more now than they did
Yes.
10 to 12 years ago? Yeah. And
Yes.
what do
A
you
100%.
what do you hypothesize is the reason for
Well,
that?
I mean, I think COVID, right? Allowing people just to work from home and wear their pajama pants with a nice top. I think that a lot of clinicians really were like, oh, that's my thing, because I'm more of an introvert and that's what I want. However, I know that's not ideal practice for our clients. Um, so I think there's that. I think there's the whole like entree of venture capitalist groups that
Hmm.
are like posing like, oh, we'll pay you $120 an hour. And then I'm like, right. And then who gives customer service to those clients when those clients'
Exactly.
bills aren't getting paid right? Who's going to do that? Well,
Exactly.
I don't know. Well, right. And that's how you're going to lose those clients that you're
Right.
trying to support, because those venture capitalist programs do not work the same as innovative counseling partners, where we take
Yeah.
confirmation, we take customer service as a valued thing, and that comes with a cost. I
I
can't just
l-
like do it for
yeah.
free.
I literally had that conversation. I do the private practice seminar for NASW, and we started talking about the venture capital, and like three of them were like in Grow and Headway and stuff like that, and they told me those exact stories that like a client came in and Headway said, oh, you only owe $30, and then it came back they had a big deductible. Duh, like if they were coming
Yeah.
through our practices, we would be able to like sit them down and have this conversation
Yes.
and like really support what does this mean for you.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're exactly right, the venture capital isn't doing that.
Mm-hmm. No, and they don't even, there's not really even like a way through customer service to get that knowledge. And so, again, I'm like, oh, that's what you're signing up for. So yeah, sure, you
Yep.
might not have a lot of overhead, and sure, you're going to get 120 a session, and sure, you get to sit at home in your pajama pants. But is that really benefiting us as a business? And do you understand like how that kind of delegitimizes
Yes.
how we operate? And again, I recognize too, I'm all about like, system disruptors when it's done in a way that's mindful and not ignorant. Um, and so, yeah, would I love it if insurance companies would just like waive all the deductibles? Like, oh my goodness, I felt like that was such a gift during COVID
Yeah.
for us to not have to have our clients deal with deductibles and co-pays. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
But then reality came back and smacked us all down the hill. So yeah, I really feel like those things have changed it. And unfortunately, I think that universities are not doing a great job, because they know
Yeah.
that they need the money to keep their programs going to earn. And so they are not doing a good job of educating people. As a matter of fact, I feel they're blowing a lot of smoke.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and then that hurts us too.
Right. Right. Yeah. On the Facebook group, for those of you who are not in Chicago, we have a very lovely Chicagoland group practice owner Facebook group. And whenever I see people talking about what the universities are telling these students that they should be making like 80% and all kinds of bullshit, that it's like, who are you? Where are you getting this information
Right.
from?
Right. Yeah.
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 What do you see for the future? How are you preparing? Like, get out your crystal ball real quick since you're a witch.
Exactly.
I'm a witch too, so let's witch it up. Don't tell me. Do you have one right here?
Well, I have my clear quartz
Oh, yes.
skulls that
Oh,
help give me guidance.
here's my smoky. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And of course, my Buddha and my Ganesh and my Jesus and,
Mm-hmm.
my yoga poses and my Care Bears, they're all surrounding me all the time, as well as
Mm-hmm.
my meta prayer and my Eleanor Roosevelt statements, those kinds of
Yeah,
things. I
yeah.
surround myself with that. So I guess they support my wellness as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, when I get out my crystal ball, I can tell you that I don't think that in the long run, the venture capitalist movement is in fact going to stay like the way that
Mm.
it is. I mean,
Mm.
I've seen so many of the lawsuits and the lack of responsibility that they're taking. I think at some point they're all going to just like shake their head and go, whatever, behavioral health can just have itself.
Right? Because, oh my
Um,
God, it's not as profitable as we thought it would be.
Shocking,
Mm.
right? Right.
Fuck you guys.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel that, the pendulum has been swinging,
Mm-hmm.
especially since 2020. And I just feel like we're in this space now. And again, with our new United States situation, I feel like, well, again, I just see that corporations are killing America, and especially like the average human. If you're
Yeah.
not a millionaire or billionaire, you're not important. And so I feel like that too is going to smack some people upside the head pretty harshly over time. We might not see it happen tomorrow, like I might wish, but I can keep sending that intention into the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that it will happen at some point. But I don't think that where we're going to land is that everyone's going to be working from home in their pajama pants, into 2030.
Mm.
I think that at some point we're going to find that the pendulum is going to kind of fall back in the middle at some point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
So,
I mean, from what I've heard, it sounds like more clients are wanting to be in person. Like maybe not
yes.
100%, obviously, like it was before COVID, but around like 50% is
Yeah.
what I'm hearing from folks. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I got to see my therapist for the first time in 5 years a couple weeks ago, and I sobbed, I tell you.
Oh,
I fell into her arms and just sobbed at like being able to like touch her and like
yeah.
be close with her again. And it's funny because like we've been doing this for so long. I even forgot it was almost an option, but now she works 7 minutes from where I'm living, and it's
It's
like,
perfect.
oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I like a every other appointment in person.
Yeah.
I just feel like it works for people's schedules and it keeps up that connectedness that
Mm-hmm.
is so needed and is so big a part of our world of behavioral health and helping people stay connected in general.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm also wondering, how do you see us supporting clinicians? Because, you mentioned earlier that people are wanting more, you can't give enough. How are you able to support your clinicians to sort of try to bridge this gap, right? Like,
Yeah,
I know you're like, namaste. If you, like, if this isn't for you, that's totally fine.
yeah,
Is there anything you're doing in conversations, or I know you've got the support group, like this
yeah,
isn't a one question, this is a
yeah,
cornucopia, but you know where I'm
yeah.
going. What you got?
Yeah. So honestly, I'm very transparent. So I mean, even when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to the billing side of things, like my clinicians have full access to see what's the max payout versus, that I also share with them like what our expenses are. I mean, our
Mm-hmm.
average, I think the last that I looked at our average reporting, it's something like $1,850 a month per provider. So even thinking about whatever that is, Grow or whoever it is that charges
Right.
150, I'm like, well, that's still cheaper than what I pay. But my people get to feel like family. They get to
Yeah.
feel like, unlike Headway, where like you don't know where people are coming from, and
Right.
like you might get to see them on a Zoom meeting. The reality is like we're actually going to hook up and see each other for a white elephant gift exchange.
Right.
Right. So I think that that's kind of where I've come to, is like this space of like, if you guys really want to know the real deal, I'm happy to share it with you. Here you
Mm-hmm.
go. Here's the real deal. And then you guys get to decide, do you want this
Right.
option or not? So again, because I believe so much in educating our clinicians to the next level and to
Mm-hmm.
kind of move them along through the growth chain, that's how I operate. So you could have
Mm-hmm.
started with me as an intern, and then maybe once you got your LCPC, LCSW, you decide you want to move on and you want to go to the venture capitalist. I've had people come back.
Really?
As
Have
long as,
you?
yeah, I'm like, if you don't burn the village.
Ooh, can you tell me any stories from that? Like what they say when they come back?
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of them have been saying things like, well, I realize that I guess it's not that bad here. Or I realize
Mm.
that the way that you do things is supportive, where I thought like you should do more. Like you should
Mm-hmm.
do all my collections for me. We don't have a front desk. So all the collections are done by provider.
Mm-hmm.
And they really were like, I hate that. I don't like that. Why don't you get somebody? Well, you want me to find somebody who's going to sit in every single office Saturday through Sunday at random hours just to collect the $20 copays. Like,
Mm-hmm.
who you tell me who we're going to find, and let's
Right.
see how consistent they are, and what happens when they don't show up because they're sick. Who's
Right.
going to do it then? And again,
Right.
I can't pay you if we don't have money coming in. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you know so I think a lot of them, that was probably one of the biggest things, was that they realized when they got out into the world outside of ICP that they weren't
Mm-hmm.
as well supported. Quite a few of them also did not feel like they were heard, they were listened to.
Mm.
My group practice, we last year moved and did a whole diversity, equity, and inclusion thing. Yes, I just said
I
those words.
know.
I
Dun, dun,
know,
dun,
God
dun.
forbid. But like I have group practice owner groups that I'm talking to, and they're like, why would you spend the money on that, Jennifer? That's just dumb. Like,
Wait, what?
right. My team is multiculturally focused. We
Mm-hmm.
are in the Chicagoland area and see a very diverse patient population and insurance population. And I think it's irresponsible for me to just blindly
Yeah.
think that because I'm some white lady that I know exactly what they want.
Mm-hmm.
I might have grown up on the south side of the city, so I get them maybe. But the reality is I don't know unless I ask. And
Mm-hmm.
something that I did during 2020 and 2021, I was following like the Harvard Business Review, and one of the recommendations that I read was, if you do your own assessment with your staff, and I called it the stay interview. Why do you stay here?
Mm.
So I created this whole thing and we put it out in a Google form. And every year we ask everybody, why do
Mm.
you stay? What are the things that you wish we could do differently?
Mm-hmm.
We had some people say things like, well, why don't you provide us lunch every day? Where are the tampons, Jennifer? And I'm like, I don't know what kind of tampons you prefer. Some people
Mm-hmm.
like plastic, some people like cardboard, some people like
Mm-hmm.
just insert yourself.
Yep.
I'm not buying your tampons. Bring them to the office. I'll provide you a place to store them where the mice might not find them, right? Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to keep the place mouse free. You know what I mean? Like, I'm happy to do all these sorts of things for you. But for the love of God, I can't
Yeah.
I can't think of like, oh, then I'm going to have to worry about who's gluten free and who's dairy free and who only is pescatarian. Like,
Yeah.
that's just unrealistic expectations, you guys. I will provide meals here
Mm-hmm.
and there at events that we host, But
Mm-hmm.
for the love of God,
Well,
I
I
got to come
think,
to a space.
and it's the living is harder right now. I think it's a lot harder to exist. The pace of the world is faster. The demands that we have outside of work, like I am struggling to keep up with the amount of like emails that I have to respond to in terms of like fucking services that break down, all kinds of I'm trying to return fucking something to this fucking electronics company and I keep having to go back and it's killing me. It's killing me.
Yeah.
And so I hear what they're saying, and I guess from my like business owner leadership lens, I think I want to honor the need that you
Mm-hmm.
have, right? That there is a struggle to exist right now on the same level that like we don't have the same what's the term? Quality of life that we
Yeah.
had before COVID. We just
Yeah.
don't. And I know that people are looking to their workplaces to try to fulfill that. And while there's certainly things we can do to make it as hospitable and spa like, right, all of these things that you're saying, I think we have to grieve the fact that we don't have the same life that we had before. And
Right.
likely in the short term, it's going to get even more uncomfortable until we hit the breaking point and we're able to create something new on the other side.
Yeah. 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 I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I don't
It's
disagree with
it's
that.
it's rough out there and I mean, I was telling who was it? I don't know, I was telling somebody who's not in the field, when I started this in 2013ish, you know, Blue Cross reimbursement was around 127 and now it's around what 131 or
Yeah.
whatever. Like
Yeah.
that's all we've gotten in 10 years.
Oh, well, I mean, I started in 1999,
Mhm.
and back then was before the insurance task force sat down with Illinois Blue Cross Blue Shield. And at that time, we were not getting what the LCSWs were getting. And it
Interesting.
wasn't until after that meeting they bumped us to the
Wow.
same rate as LCSWs. So again, what have we bumped up? Like maybe $23 since
Mhm.
1999.
Wow.
Tell me about the cola, people. Tell me about the cola
Right,
in our
right.
industry. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I am hoping that employees will listen to this as well to understand because I think if we all knew a little bit more of the big picture, it would be easier to work together to try to find a
Mm-hmm.
solution
Mm-hmm.
rather than it being boss versus employee. I'm
Mm-hmm.
really tired of that rhetoric for so many reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I know so many really great employees that have really great ideas and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
passion, a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's fight the man instead of fighting your boss
Yeah.
because more times than not, like I know that there are some really shitty practice owners out there, but more
Sure.
times than not the practice owner really is doing as much as they can to try to provide
Yeah.
wages and benefits and all of these sorts of things that we
Yeah.
need to survive right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, you were asking what else am I doing? And I, was talking about like some of the different things. But one of the other things that I started to do now is partner with an HR group. And
Mm,
again, a lot of practice owners that I know are like, why would you do that? Why would you spend that money? That's money you could keep. Right. But if I don't know the shit that I'm doing that's wrong,
yeah.
and I just keep bopping along thinking like, well, until I get caught with my pants down, all's right with the world. I don't like to function like that.
Yeah.
I want to function where I can sleep at night knowing we've
Yeah.
got malpractice insurance,
Yep.
knowing that if there is such a thing as ELPI insurance, I might want to consider it
I don't
for
even know what that
anybody.
is.
Yeah, it's a type of insurance that, like, again, if somebody gets caught in a sexual harassment suit, but they're your
Oh.
W-2 employee, yeah, guess who's getting their ass handed to them first? You are, sister. Yeah,
Oh, ELPI. Okay, everybody looking into that.
ELPI. Yeah, and so I just am like, I saw Danielle Kepler mentioned it in the
Mm,
group last week, and
mm,
I'd already been in the process, but I was curious, like, what are some other plans that are out there? Um,
mm.
but I mean, these are things that, like, when the clinicians are doing their job, like I think back to 2020, I said, we ain't doing anything in person until I think it's okay.
Yeah.
And I said that to my supervisors. I said that to everybody. I was like, I do not want that. Well, guess what happened? I had, at least that I know, 3 that continued to go in person and see people. 2 of them ended up in the hospital on respirators. Not kidding.
No.
Yes. The 3rd called me and said, are you mad at me? I said, why would you want to know if I'm mad at you? Well, because I went into the office the other day to pick some things up, and I said, was it just to pick things up? Because when I went in that office, there was a teacup that had a tea bag that still had water in it. And there was clearly client Kleenex on the floor. And so even though Jennifer said no mas to the in-person for right now, you were still doing it. So should I be pissed at you? Because you put us in a risky spot. And they're like, well, I just wanted to see the people in person. Right. But you lied to me and you put us at risk. Right. And it's not just a Jennifer show. It's an everybody.
Right. And again, I think back to the feelings and needs, right? What's the feeling there, right? There's loss that we don't get to see these people in person, and this desire to have that connection again. There's nothing wrong with that. Can we be honest with that instead of lying and going against policies of the office?
Right.
Because there's going to be another pandemic, you guys. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but like this is kind of where we are with climate change and all the other things that are happening. And so I really want us, I'm such a Libra rising. I really want us to be able to like get along together, figure it out together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we should wrap up here, but is there anything, we could talk about things forever and ever, amen, but anything else in particular you want to leave people with in terms of anything?
I think I would just say, I know that not every business owner or practice owner is open to having conversation, but I really think that sometimes it's literally just getting whatever it is that's in your head out in wherever the ethers of your practice, just so that way then you can understand that A, you're probably not alone, and B, that there might in fact be some simple solutions, but kind of holding on your own and suffering in silence is probably the worst torturous thing that people can do for themselves. And in 2019, I had started a podcast and was super, super excited about it. And then 2020 hit and I was like, I don't have time for this shit. So I relaunched my podcast. It's the Fear of Change podcast. And I just really talk about real, honest situations in which, people fear changing and people fear, how to think differently. And you gotta learn what works for you.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you relaunched that. I look forward to listening.
Yeah. Thank you.
And do you also offer consulting for group practice?
Oh, definitely. Yes. Yes.
Awesome. So you can find Jen in all the places. We'll have it on the things, show notes and all those things so that you can find Jen and her practice. But thank you so much for being here. And I appreciate your groundedness in our chaos of the world.
Yeah. It's always a pleasure to get to talk to you, but it's a real practice to maintain groundedness.
It sure is. Well, thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching Group Practice Revolution. To learn more about today's guest, you can visit us at www.grouppracticerevolution.com. Thanks so much to the team at Jules Creative Marketing for video editing, to Jordy Matthews for our incredible logo on the album art, and to David Ben Porat for our theme music. Until next time, bye-bye.